On November 1st, Frosty says, the Alphacore animations are infinitely more expensive long-term since Eric now has to pay the salaries and insurance costs of what is essentially the marketing department. Isom 2's animation clearly didn't bring in more sales, so it's 100% a cash drain. Unless Frosty has access to Rippaverse financial statements and operations data, then there is no reason to be this confident. All I know is that Isom 2 was a huge success and made millions. The Alphacore animation is a great marketing strategy. The most popular video on the Rippaverse YouTube channel is the Alphacore animated trailer with 243,000 views in 3 weeks. Alphacore is a new property and is establishing its audience. The campaign ends January 20th. Plenty of time left. November 1st, Mike thinks the Alphacore animation is an act of desperation.
Is it my imagination, or is there a stench of desperation coming off of Rippaverse right now? I mean, they just released a teaser trailer for Alphacore number 1. A teaser trailer! And it sucks. Barely 25% of this 40-second teaser focuses on Alphacore. I think the more prominently featured character was Yaira. And here's the thing. They're going to release the full trailer on Monday. Why not wait until you've got something that's substantial? In fact, it seems like Rippaverse has ramped its marketing campaign up to 11 since Isom number 2. It's like they really, really want to make sure that Alphacore number 1 is successful. That's probably because they saw such a hellacious drop-off in purchasers from Isom number 1 to Isom number 2. You had a 53% drop in purchasers, and they can't afford to have that a second time. And considering what a freaking pile of hot garbage Isom number 2 was, they really are risking seeing that a second time. Here's hoping having a pro writer and artist on your book helps.
Yes, Mike. This is your imagination. Teasers are meant to build anticipation. Nothing desperate about good marketing and giving the fans what they want. November 2nd. Mike had a problem with this promotional art for Alphacore. He compared it to an emotional moment from DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths number 7. He says, Brian Solari is not Superman, and Ingrid Valdez is not Supergirl. The Rippaverse characters are nobodies to us so far, so don't be fooled. Don't let these nobodies take advantage of emotional connections to long-standing characters they have been made to resemble. The Rippaverse characters need to earn whatever emotional connections they get from us. They have to stand or fall on their own merits. Rippaverse, it's getting desperate. Mike is reading way too much into a simple promotional art piece. Ridiculous. On November 6th, this weirdo replied to Eric July with an unhinged take saying, Great job of not upsetting your core white audience. Made sure the white guy is the leader. He's bigger and stronger. The black guy has 0 speaking lines. Valdez has to prove she belongs. Your audience is going to love this one. Social justice warrior, Captain America, says the Alphacore leader, Brian Solari, is an evil Superman secessionist, and Eric July is inserting politics into Alphacore. Makes no sense. This dude is crazy. On November 7th, Joe says that Chuck Dixon had a pathetic career trajectory because he's no longer selling tens of thousands of copies with multiple books per month. I wonder how successful Joe Winner is. Is he a real winner or an armchair quarterback living vicariously through successful people? Carl says Alphacore will be a large failure, and the only way for it to reach $1 million is with mysterious angel investors. Joe has a similar opinion, but is more specific by mentioning The Blaze. Detractors always love to talk about Glenn Beck and The Blaze. They can't imagine real people supporting a real product. Saki Senobashi says, Eric's ego wouldn't allow him to make it seem like Chuck could outsell him. He owns the website and decides the numbers. My interpretation of this stupid comment is Eric intentionally displaying smaller numbers on the Alphacore campaign to protect his ego on the success of Isom. One of the wildest conspiracy theories about Alphacore so far. Amazing. First they complained that Rippaverse doesn't put out enough books, and now they are saying Rippaverse is trying to rush its success to compete with Marvel and DC, and that Eric July should be establishing the fundamentals first before expanding. This one was hilarious. They moved the goalpost with no shame. November 8th, genius take by this moron. He says, even if the Marvels flops, it will still make more money than Alphacore. Dude got cooked in the comments. The fandom initiative think the Alphacore campaign peaked and won't make it to $1 million. Well, it did, so cope and cry about it. November 10th, here is a perfect example of concern trolling. Detractor says to Chuck Dixon, I'm very disappointed in you. I used to be a big fan of yours, but I didn't know you were a bigot and aligned yourself with homophobic people like Eric July. I guess money is more important than integrity and equal rights. You're pathetic, Dixon. Actual fandom says Eric July values himself above Chuck Dixon and Joe Bennett because Alphacore has a lower price than Isom. Eric said many times that Rippaverse expanded and has more leverage in negotiations with suppliers and vendors, which reduces cost and saves money for customers. This is basic business, but actual fandom has an agenda and will use any angle to attack Eric. Walter says Alphacore is at a lower price compared to Isom because there is lower demand. The Brave Bard says Alphacore is cop propaganda. These idiots are desperate. Hater was talking trash, saying nobody cares about Alphacore even though over 15K books sold in less than a week. Hater's account no longer exists. Not surprising because many of them are sock accounts. They likely created a new one. Anyways, almost 19,000 books sold with more than a month left to go. But nobody cares, right? On November 13th, the Dark Nook says, hype is why Isom 1 sold well. Isom 2 dropped off 50% in customers and copies sold. Alphacore looks to be taking another 50% dive from Isom 2's numbers. At this rate, by book 5, he won't be making enough to keep the lights on. Let's see how Rippaverse is doing when their 5th book is released, and if this detractor is right. What is he going to say when proven wrong? November 14th, Mark says, you cultivated a dumbed-down, uncritical, slavish fan base that you can sell subpar comics to, and it's paid off so far. This will last 2 to 3 years before the wheels really come off. Okay, let's check back with Mark in 2 to 3 years. I'm sure he will own up to being wrong. Frosty says, Alphacore has 3,500 fewer backers than Isom 2 did at day 8. It is definitely failing. I'm pretty sure making a ton of profit is not failing. On November 15th, Tim Pool made an awesome video praising the success of Rippaverse and said that it could be worth as high as $20 to $50 million. November 16th, Cameron says Eric July will run Rippaverse to the ground with his reckless spending and rotten attitude. November 18th, Alphacore hits $1 million. November 19th, Hater moves the goalpost by saying Alphacore is still not even above 10,000 buyers, which is low-end Marvel comic numbers. Detractor copes by comparing the Marvels to Alphacore. He said to Heel vs. Babyface, you celebrated that Marvel's dropped 87% in ticket sales this week, as proof that the movie is bad. Yet when Alphacore drops 87% in book sales this week, you praise it. Yeah, you have no ability to think critically, towhead. On November 21st, haters got triggered by this article. Headline asks, is Eric July the new Stan Lee with his multi-million-dollar Rippaverse comics? November 22nd, Fenton says, the least popular writer for Marvel Comics for the last 84 years is still more well-known than Eric July, and it will stay that way. It's crazy how threatened these Marvel fanboys are by an independent comic company. On November 23rd, longtime detractor Vicky tagged the managing editor of PJ Media, the news site that released the article about Eric July and Rippaverse, in an attempt to cancel John Delaroz, author of the article. Vicky failed to cancel John. Bradley says, he's a terrible businessman and continues to make the most baffling decisions. Rippaverse will be bankrupt by 2025.